bit different than a highway bill. You may see a few disagreements on this panel. With that, I would call on my friend, Senator Inhofe, for his statement.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. And, you know, in a way, it shouldn't be any different than the highway bill. We just have different beliefs and different ideas, and that's what this is all about today. And so this seems like the good old days. You know, we used to have these hearings all the time. It's been, what, it's been February of '09, I think, the last time we had one of these on the science. So I'm glad we're back doing it now. Back then, we heard promises from the Obama administration of the clean energy revolution with green jobs, and popped up by billions of taxpayer dollars going to companies like Solyndra. What came of all those promises? The global warming movement has completely collapsed, and the cap and trade is dead and gone. I suspect a look back over the past 3 years will be a little painful for some. In 2009, the Democratic president, overwhelming Democrat majority in the House and the Senate, the majorities, the global warming alarmists were on top of the world. They thought they would reach their goal and have an international agreement. All of that was there. I mean, why not? We had a Democrat president, Democrat majorities in the House and the Senate. It didn't happen. Of course, what drove the collapse of the global warming movement was the science of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It was finally exposed. I had been exposing it for some time, but it actually was exposed when ClimateGate came. And here's something interesting. I'm going to read this into the record. These are publications that were on the alarmist side of this issue, and yet this is the change that took place. The New York Times editorial, quote, "Given the stakes, the IPCC cannot allow more missteps and at the very least must tighten procedures and make its deliberations more transparent. The panel's chairman," this is, again, quoting from the editorial, "is under fire for taking consulting fees from business interests." The Washington Post, quote, "Recent revelations about the flaws in that seminal IPCC report, ranging from typos and key dates to sloppy resourcing, are undermining confidence not only in the panel's work, but also in the projections about climate change." Newsweek, "Some of the IPCC's most quoted data and recommendations were taken straight out of unchecked activist brochures and newspaper articles." The UK Daily Telegraph on ClimateGate. "ClimateGate is the worst scientific scandal of our generation." This is the science on which all these things have been based. Now, how unpopular is the global warming movement now? The Washington Post recently published a poll revealing that Americans no longer worry about global warming, and one of the reasons is that they don't trust the scientists and their motives. The IPCC has even lost the trust in the left. Andrew Revkin of the New York Times, he was one that was always on that side, recently called for the IPCC chair, Pachauri, to make a choice between global warming activism and leading the IPCC. They are also saying similar things about global warming alarmist James Hansen. As David Roberts of GRIST acknowledged, Hansen has become, quoting now, so politicized that people tend to dismiss him. Just one look at this committee, and we can see how bad things have gotten for the alarmists. Today, there are no federal witnesses here to testify, as was called out in an article this morning. I think it was in Politico. President Obama himself never dares mention global warming. He won't say the term. And some of the left have noticed. Bill McKibben recently criticized the president for not attending the Rio +20 and acknowledged that 20 years ago, George Bush did attend, and Obama didn't even attend. It's got to be very hard for my friends on the left to watch the president, who promised he would slow the rise of oceans, posing in front of pipelines in my home state of Oklahoma, pretending to like oil and gas. I imagine they're trying to keep quiet because they know that President Obama is still moving forward with his global warming agenda. They just don't want the American people to know it. Now, what the American people don't know, President Obama is doing through his bureaucracy what he couldn't do legislatively, and we've already identified $68.4 billion that's been spent on his global warming agenda, and people aren't even aware of it. He did it without any authorization from Congress. Today we should have a fascinating debate. I want to thank climatologist Dr. John Christie for appearing before the committee to provide his insights. Also looking forward to testimony from Margot Thorning, as we've heard from her before, and that'll be very good. We've been through this now for the past 3.5 years, and the results are clear. President Obama's green energy agenda has been a disaster. The time has come to put these tired, failed policies to rest and embrace the United States energy boom so that we can put Americans back to work, turn this economy around, become totally energy independent from the Middle East, and ensure energy security for the years to come. I really believe this. You know, we just in the last couple of years, no one is going to deny the fact that we have more recoverable reserves in coal, oil, and gas than any other country. We could be totally independent. And those who say we've got to have green energy to become independent from the Middle East, we can do that now with just doing what every other country in the world does, and that's develop our own resources. And while I made the comment about the president not saying the word global warming, let me compliment one of my fellow senators. Senator Sanders had read my book and was down on the floor on Monday, and I happened when I got off the plane and came in. You know, there are people like Senator Sanders. In his heart, he believes everything that he says. There's no hypocrisy in him, and you see a lot of that in Washington. But you don't see as much of the people who sincerely are willing to fight for the things that they believe in as Senator Sanders. I said this on the Senate floor, and I say it again. And I know he believes everything that he says. He knows that I believe in my heart everything that I say. So I was talking to Senator Cardin on the elevator coming up here, and we both said, you know, isn't that what the Senate is supposed to do? All of us represent different people, different philosophies, say what we really believe. And I think that's a healthy thing. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. I want to clear two things up. I did not ask for any witnesses from the administration. I wanted outside scientific voices because I didn't want to see this turn into an attack on the Obama administration. Clearly, it still is turning into that, but that's okay.
No,
I did not want to have a witness. I didn't want to have a witness to become Bob's nothing burger, Bob's nothing burger, Bob's nothing burger, Bob's nothing burger, Bob's nothing burger. Let me just say, we're going to put in the report from the Brookings Institution. They sent me which employs some 2.7 number of jobs in a